We just see so many new athletes who I don't think have done a swim run before. Our numbers are really, really strong, and it's really strong across the sprint and the experience course. I think the top end of the World Series is going to be really strong and competitive. You guys get to open it up and throw down and really crank on the speed part. So there is a little bit something for everyone at that course. I think it's just one last kind of get together for the swim run community before the off season starts. It has all the vibes. It's a great end to the year. And I think really it's a great meeting point for experienced racers and for newcomers to join together and catch that swim run fever.
Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a swim run podcast. I'm Chip.
I'm Chris, and this is episode 251. We got an awesome show for everyone this week. We are going to do a preview of Ötillö Austin 2024. And joining us for this conversation is the one and only Mark and Lois's son, Lars Finanger. Welcome to the show.
I've never been introed like that before.
I was like, I'm pretty sure his name's Lars, not Mark.
But Mark's going to love that one. You know they'll be listening. They listen all the time.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They are faithful listeners.
Always great to have you on the show, Lars. Frequent guest, one-time host of the show for 150th episode. That was super fun, way back when. But we brought you on. We want to talk about Ötillö Austin. Super stoked for it this year. I mean, as you know, Chipper and I have been to every single one, and we're not going to miss it this year either. For that, this is the first year that Ötillö USA has been a thing since you guys merged. Curious from the race director perch that you have, how did it go? How are you feeling about it? I mean, from our side, looks like it went great.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the invite, for letting me join you guys again. I hope that I'm invited back in 49 episodes to usher in the 300th. That'd be pretty cool as the second hosted interview. But hey, I'm sure there's quite a queue as well of people who want to grill you guys. But we had a really cute email today, basically someone asking if we were going to do a mass start for Austin, which made me think back to the original version, which they watched a video about, where we were spaced out because of the COVID spacing. So,
that's right.
Kind of a cute memory to think about the fact that we, yes, we do mass starts. So, but yeah, 2024, it seems like they say, for those who aren't watching, I am wearing my cotton candy Low Tide Boys hoodie, which can only mean one thing, that Austin is quickly approaching. So
sweatshirt season's here.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest changes I would say that happened this year, which I don't know if really anyone maybe noticed anything other than branding. I mean, we truly tried to step up the professionalism of the organization this year, but really it was the same production that we put on, the same people helping put on the production as years past. So I don't think that really changed at all. Just the look changed, I think, which meant AKA the branding. Obviously a new venue with Whistler, which started off the year, which I don't know, is that a good addition to the series? You guys raced. What did you think?
Two thumbs up from us. No questions about it. That's
four thumbs.
Four thumbs up from the Low Tide Boys. You put that on the website if you want.
Yeah, we were pleased too. I mean, at first year, right? First year races are so difficult. There's so many factors that go into it. So, we loved hearing feedback from you guys, people who have done other races, how that one fit in, if it's a good venue to keep going with that.
Well, I think in terms of accessibility, plenty of places to stay. It's sort of designed for events. You really get to see the entire swim in basically every lake in the tent. It got really gnarly, so surprisingly it isn't super urban. You're just doing loops in the mountains, dropping back down, running down the road for a little bit, jumping on a trail, and then you're like, where the hell am I, kind of thing. Just really interesting environments. And to think that you could do that in basically a metropolitan area with an awesome drive to get there. I mean, yeah, Isle of Scilly is an amazing race, but getting to Isle of Scilly is so hard that becomes like a big impediment for people to experience the sport in a cool place. Like Whistler kind of gets rid of a lot of the impediments in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is almost like experiencing two countries in one, because the joke in Whistler is that it's pretty much an Australian community anyways, which I don't know if you
That
heard
is
many
true.
Aussie accents around town. Our swim course director was an Aussie, in fact. So yeah, I mean, you live and you learn, and there are certainly things that will change, I think, for next year's Whistler, but I'm not sure in North America if there's a place that's more put on earth to host, epic endurance events like Whistler is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, I really, one thing that struck us from the race itself, just the variety of running trails. You're in the woods, you're on a mountain bike course, you're running on literally slat wood log bridges that are mountain bike ramps, and then you're running next to the highway on a protected bike path the next, and it's just all sorts of, you get a little bit of everything. And through the village, like you really touch on a lot of cool different aspects, which kept it really interesting. And also, yeah, just really, you got to see a lot of Whistler that I don't think people would normally see if they went to go visit, because they're probably just hanging out in the village for the most part, and maybe a hike here or there.
Yeah, I got to give massive props to Marcus Barton for, about 2 months beforehand. We didn't have any media built up that showed swim runners on the course. We had Dale did an amazing job basically creating a swim run course, but as a non-swim runner, we really had to vet it a little bit. And, Marcus and I went out there, and he really said, you shouldn't go here, you should go here. And so I think, there was a meet in the middle point that we had to respect with what we had permits for, but it really did help, I think, the flow of the event to have Marcus's input there. And if I'm remembering correctly, you guys were gonna be up there to join us as well. So, but we were absolutely stoked that you.
I think Marcus is way better than us. I mean, at this point, Marcus could be like the Arnold Palmer of swim run design.
That's quite a question. Yeah, that's been in the news right now. So
one of mine.
Yeah, top of my mind. No, but we were really, one more funny story about Whistler. So the day after the race, Aaron and I went on a run. As you noticed, the transformation of Aaron this year. Lost about 80 pounds.
Great.
Really, he's looking fit as a fiddle. And he is fit as a fiddle. The guy can run like a banshee. But we went running around town because, we get to drive around and on race day, but we don't really get to get our knees wet like you guys do. So Aaron and I woke up early and we went for a run, and he took us straight up the mountain. And the whole time, and I had my hands on my knees. I was kind of huffing and puffing. And, Aaron's like, this is where you got to take him next year. This is where you got to take him. And so just, I'm not going to say that there will be course modifications. I don't know if that will be one of them, but as you guys noted, there are endless opportunities out there.
For sure. Yeah. Knee scrapers, no worries. It's kind of like Catalina in that respect for that run.
Yeah.
3,
oh man, that was, savage start to the race in Catalina for sure. And from a race director perspective, how you mentioned a few minutes ago, Lars, no changes other than the branding. And I think that is a great outcome for you, is like, hey, no one noticed it. There's a little bit different touch. If anything, it leveled it up, the performance of it and the professionalism of it. So, from a participant perspective as well, and from everything that we've heard, same great swim runs that you know and love, just a different name that you're still very familiar with. So not really any change.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the swim run community is still so small and so close, and that, I don't think for those Americans who went to Sweden, it wouldn't be, out of the norm to hear Christian or Dominic talk about what their vision for Ötillö is. And it's 10 races in Europe, 10 races in the US, 10 races outside of those two. And so we are working towards that. Obviously, we're not at 10 right now in the US. And so, my hobby, when I'm not out training myself or when I'm not, doing work with this is on Strava maps and heat maps and Google Earth and, just, looking for that next possible swim run venue. And so, we've got some really good ideas out there, and, we just want to do it in the right way though, where we can't get too far ahead of our skis. It is still fairly small. And so we don't want to cannibalize, ourselves and put out so many events where you guys can't actually get to them all, right? So, we're just trying to do it in the most organic and natural way that we can. But with that said, we do have a list of, half a dozen to a dozen venues that are on that list that we'd love to roll out in time.
We'd love to take a look at the list if you want to share it with us.
Well, hey, also we may have to, leave Camp Tex Lake where, it is a scout camp, so there is no alcohol, but, a couple of post-race margaritas somewhere in Austin, might be able to help.
We're changing our flights right now, so we'll be leaving the day after. So
I love it. I love it. Well, I think post-race margaritas is just a wonderful transition to talk about Ötillö, Austin. Lars, we were texting, trying to set up the time for this, and you said registration is going great. So yeah, tell us what's the vibe inside, Ötillö USA camp?
Each of the races is so different. Casco Bay, it's such a hardcore race. And so we have so many, people who have such strong athletic backgrounds, and, maybe even it's where our most experienced athletes keep coming back year after year. You guys, Chipper, I see that Team 63 in the background there, from the Cole Classic year 2008. We see so many repeat teams there. It is such an, authentic kind of island to island style race. Orcas is a very difficult race. Mackinac, it sits at a tough time in the season for a lot of people, but it is a very beginner friendly course and race. But there's nothing like Austin. And I think in part it's because the end of the triathlon season's over. People are looking for a new experience, a fun experience to end the year with. But where I'm going with this is that we just see so many new athletes who I don't think have done a swim run before. Our numbers are really, really strong, and it's really strong across the sprint and the experience course. I think the top end of the World Series is going to be really strong and competitive. For you guys, it's not as much about the long distance portion of the course because it's on the shorter end for a World Series. But you guys get to open it up and throw down and really crank on the speed part. So there is a little bit something for everyone at that course. But, really, I think it's just one last kind of get together for the swim run community before the off season starts. It has all the vibes. It's a great end to the year. And I think really it's a great meeting point for experienced racers and for newcomers to kind of, join together and, catch that swim run fever.
Yeah, absolutely. And the vibes are, I think, peaking at Austin at the end of the season, and it might have something to do with it being at the community center there. And like I think one of my favorite things is the morning before, everyone has all their nerves going on, and everyone's in the big community center room, and everyone's getting their gear on and comparing gear, helping new people out. Like everyone's at the same place, like getting ready to take on this fun swim run event, and that's one of my favorite times. But yeah, I mean, for folks that have done Austin, it's a good opportunity to like turn up, let's see how fast that we can go, and we can really push some things and work on some different stuff, which we've always really enjoyed doing. It's such a great end to the season.
Yeah, and Chipper, we're bummed that you're not going to be there racing. It sounds like your knee is still in recovery mode, which for you, I'm not your coach. I don't want to make your decisions for you, but I think you're smart to just live for 2025. But we'd obviously love to have you out in any capacity. Marky Mark, he's not one to give up the microphone to anyone, but I think he wouldn't mind.
You can put me to work, Lars. You can put me to work.
Yeah, well, it's funny you mention that, Lars, because with Chipper being injured, I was like, well, we should still go anyway. You should still come. And I might race solo. I might race someone else. Like, I don't know, but you should still come because it's like, hey, we've done this 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be there just for the vibes, right? Be super volunteer or whatever. So I'm really glad that we sort of coalesced around going, and we're just going to do our annual sort of end of the year low tide boys, like boy trip to Austin to do this race. So
And
I'm
Torchy's
super-
tacos, of course.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Of course. Many servings of tacos. But this year, so you're mentioning like amongst the experience and the sprint, you were seeing like huge growth. So the experience, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first year there's going to be that option. So is the course, and it's mass start for everyone, but is the course going to be like, or I guess let me rephrase that. Like what do you see sort of the differences in the courses in terms of like accessibility?
Yeah, I think for the experience, truly, it's about just dipping that big toe in the water, and for some, it's maybe they don't have the fitness to even think about a swim that is potentially half a mile long to a kilometer long. Maybe they don't have the ability or the maybe they don't want to run upwards of a 5K all at once, but they want to. Maybe their significant other or maybe a friend is doing one of the other races, so they want to be a part of it. Maybe someone's trying with their kid for the first time. That's kind of cool too. So that's why they brought the experience race together over in Europe, and we've been able to bring it in this year to the U.S. and at Whistler, but I think we're going to keep redefining what those distances are like, the experience. Really though, it is a taste. It's a taste of what swimrun is. It's allowing someone to just have that experience, that high after, of the finish line, and just being able to call yourself a swim runner. That's an awesome thing. And, the sprint course, was that?
Sure is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Love it.
It's a cool thing. And, there really are not that many chances to do that here in the U.S. still. It's not from a lack of trying on you guys' end, but, we just have to, every year just keep stepping up to the plate, and, hopefully you continue to have more fulsomes and more, events like that where race directors continue to add them to their weekend event schedule. And they may not all look like Ötillö's. They may not all look like, Herbert's and Kristen's races out in North Carolina, but it is getting people thinking about swimrun. And so from our perspective, that's what the experience race is. This sprint race, it is our largest field right now. I think it's the most, when you look at it, it's the most manageable. It looks the most manageable. The distances are manageable. I think what oftentimes racers reflect upon when they look at the sprint is how much training time they're going to have to put in. And I think sprint is perfect for someone who is not necessarily like us, where this is what we think about, as part of our, daily endurance lifestyle is we're building up this run, we're building up this swim for a World Series style distance. I think the sprint is perfect for someone who has all of the tools in their toolkit. They know how to swim, they know how to run, they have good, robust fitness. They can just walk out onto a course on any given day or weekend and knock this sucker out. And then for the World Series, you got to be prepared.
Like, I think like Lars, like a good analogy is like if you're like a fit person who can basically run a half marathon, with a couple weeks notice kind of thing, and can swim, a couple thousand yards. Again, because swim run is split up, it's like, so the sprint is 15K total. Like, you don't have to be able to run 15K. It's 3K of swimming. You don't need to be able to swim 3K in one sitting, right? Can you run 2 miles at a time and then take a break with swimming? Can you swim 500 yards and then take a break with a mile run? I mean, that's really, I think that's when I explain the sprint or these more beginner friendly distances. I mean, that's what it is. It's like, if you think that you need to be able to run a marathon because the race is 26 miles, that's just not the experience of swim run, where it just doesn't feel like you ran that much because you get all these awesome breaks to go for a swim.
It's you got to experience it to truly believe it, right? But it is so true. I got a couple guys who I swim with regularly as well. They're both good runners. They're into this high rocks racing and this CrossFit style competing, and they're both good runners. And I keep telling them, you only really have to be able to run whatever the single longest run leg is, and same with swimming, really. And then it just kind of resets each time. It is really wild how that happens. So, and then mix in a ton of fun in between. So,
Obviously.
I think one thing that's cool about Austin that we're seeing right now is there are a lot of people who are not coming in from triathlon backgrounds. And, for example, we have a nice big group of they have this thing called, what's it called? Deep water fitness, where they do like the Laird Hamilton style, how surfers walk with the weight on the bottom.
Like kettlebells at the bottom of the pool kind of thing?
Yeah. So we have a big
Wow.
group, kind of like that Traverse Fitness that one year at Orcas.
Yeah.
A big group is coming from this deep water fitness group. It's just that it's these different style of fitness events that are just pulling, one here, two here. And Austin is that kind of community right now where, you're just getting so many people with different, their own little niche interest, but everyone is very active. So I think it's going to be an active participant, start list kind of through and through.
Nice.
That's great.
Yeah, super excited. And, in our conversations with people, whether it be at Folsom or any of the other races or Casco Bay that we talk, and it was their first one, they do reinforce, oh yeah, like I was really worried, I can't run 10K total worth of running, but I can do that. And then like you said, you kind of have to experience it to kind of understand it doesn't hit you the same way in the legs as the totality of the race. So it's much more approachable. But yeah, I could see why people are, a little bit skeptical, because that's kind of a too good to be true sort of thing to tell someone, like, hey, don't worry about it. If you can run 3 miles, you're good. And it's like, really? But it's true.
Yeah, well, especially when you mix in all the kind of the rock climbing that, well, maybe we shouldn't call it rock climbing, the rock scrambling and scaling that takes place on this course as well. So there's a little bit of something for everyone.
Such a fun course. Yeah, I think like in the World Series distance, anything you can tell us, is it going to be the same? Looking on the website, it looks very similar to the course from previous years. I know there was some talk that maybe would swim like across the river to get on the other side. Why don't you tell us sort of the latest on how the course stands for the World Series?
Yeah, it's going to be similar to years past. I was just there on last Friday, so a couple of days ago. Water is higher than it has been in recent years, which just means we've had more rain this past year altogether. But while it's not certain death if you do a rocks cliff jump, it is likely a slow death. So
even worse,
nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't look like cliff jumps are going to happen again this year. And, I should say this differently. Cliff jumps are not going to happen this year.
It's a fact.
Because we certainly don't want any insane rains the next couple of weeks that would give us other problems. So similar course to years past. The Highland Lakes camp, which is next to the host camp, Tex Lake, which is our start finish area, they continue to open up the doors to us each and every year. So
awesome.
Last year, that's from a lower level. So not quite the same, adrenaline rush as you get from the higher cliff jump that we've had in the past. But yeah, the course will be twisty, turny, fast, fun. Yeah, we'll be mixing it up.
I love it.
So awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, Chipper and I have managed to do this race every single year. And I think every year we're surprised by how, even though it's a similar course, it's still different year over year. And how, how we've progressed as athletes or as swim runners, like that actually has made a huge difference. Just like getting the reps of doing a bunch of swim runs, just, sort of the totality of transitions. I'm curious, Lars, like, is that something that you've heard from other folks who've like come back and done the race a lot, where they're just like, yeah, every year it's like it's the same, but it's new, it feels different. I'm sort of progressing one way or another.
Well, one of the differences we just talked about, which is the water levels, right? The water levels that changes the makeup of that course entirely. So the first couple of years that you guys did that, we were still probably at 75% downwards to 50%, lake of the lake being full. So a lot less rock scrambling and, more swimming right up until you could get out. So, and what that also then brings is like the vegetation that's on the bottom of, the lake. And so you end up seeing a lot more of kind of that, those like, it's not seaweed, but like the reeds that you have to go through.
Yeah.
Some more. Yeah, we to be honest, we actually don't know what the full course is until we show up, the Thursday before the race. Especially on our host venue of Camp Tex Lake 2 years ago. No, last year, we weren't sure that we were actually going to be able to get down that staircase to get down to where that swim was. So, this year, with the lake being a bit higher, I don't think that's a concern. But we do need to we put eyes on it, and see what we're given basically, week of the race.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's one of the things. I mean, there's obviously preaching to the choir here, but there's so many awesome things about swim run, and I have to assume from the race director side, while it must be a little bit stressful, it also has to be cool that it's just like, hey, you can't do this like in a CAD design, right? Like you actually need to be boots on the ground, see what it looks like as you set the course, iterate, make the little changes. I know, John Stevens has been doing that for since the beginning of Casco, right? Like, is that fun for you, or is it more sort of stressful? Like, is this going to work?
Oh, well, thank God I have people like John on, that I can, run things by, because for example, Casco Bay, with the tides, John can look, as far out as you want, and he can tell you, no, these are not the run distances, because that's going to be a swim this year. I think the funniest example is when Jeff Cole and I called Brent before Orcas ever happened, and we said, hey, we want to swim between the San Juan Islands. And Brent was like, dude, who are you?
How did you get my number?
Yeah. No. And, just basically to reinforce, because I was still that guy, I just had to see it to believe it. I have that kind of about me. So Brent took me out to San Juan Island, and we stood at the tip of Friday Harbor looking across to, I think it was like Lopez Island. And it was only about Chris, you could have hit a baseball over, the distance that this was. It was a couple hundred feet. But this water was raging. And I mean, you throw a human body in there and boom, you'd be down. I mean, the Straits of Juan de Fuca are nothing to bat an eye at. So, but all it took was me seeing that, Brent, okay, I trust you. It's on Orcas.
I believe you now.
Yeah. So I think, Chris, what you're getting at is, yes, you can do all the surveying you want on Strava or on Google Earth or whatever. But yeah, we have to put our boots on the ground and, actually get out there and check it out. I would say we have a 95+% certainty what Austin's going to look like going into the upcoming weekend. But, you got to give yourself that 5% wiggle room of making some adjustments.
Yeah. We try to help you manage people's expectations on, it might not be 100% locked there, but that's part of the excitement as well. And obviously Heads Up Racing really will benefit you as well. I have noticed one thing about the Ötillö. You use the lawn flags, a lot of them. Well, so love the high amount of markings there. So you got to keep your head on a swivel still.
You guys know where we stole that page from. You did Ötillö Worlds 2 years ago, And you
Yeah.
notice that it was Stefan and his partner's name is Mikkel, Mika. And Mika, they come from the adventure racing background. They come from kind of the ski-mo background. And Mika has such an eye for this. And so, you would have thought that I was like an intern the first year that I followed behind him. I was still trying to put things up in the trees, little ribbons up in the trees. And he said, forget it, man. Just pretend like, look, where are you looking when you're running? And okay, you find a landmark. He said, put it there every time, right where your eyes go. And so you learn something new every time. And so we stole that from him. And I really think it's helped out, with our course markings a lot, knock on wood, it's nearly impossible to get lost now, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now for sure someone's getting lost.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, in terms of, like an unforced error, those things can always happen. But, like no one should be going down the pit of despair. And, like if you're going down the pit of despair, that's like
on you.
Something's gone horribly wrong with you, not the course.
Yeah, you're spot on. We're still trying to figure out the best solution for the swim flags. That can be a challenge from time to time when you take into account the sun and weather conditions. So, Mika is not the best swimmer in the world. So, we need someone else to look for guidance, when the open water comes into play.
That's a good segue, because I know some people maybe doing the experience or the sprint distance, the open water swimming is their, could be one of their big hangups. There, I will say Austin has like some of the most approachable swimming that's on the US circuit. It's right against the cliff. There's always a kayak out to sort of sight to. It's very, very approachable for a beginner open water swimmer. And I think that's one thing that I know you and the team take a lot of care into making sure that people are feeling safe. Obviously, sometimes that means no cliff jumps. Other times it means, making sure the kayaks are in there and a really clear kind of line of sight on where to go. And I mean, even Chris and I will swim next to the kayaker and be like, hey, where are we going? He's like, up and to the left. Like they'll help you out too. So yeah, I would try to put any fears or uneasiness about open water swimming. It's one of the most approachable swim run courses in that regard.
For sure.
Yeah, you hit all the points on that one for sure.
Well, we could certainly be the marketing department for Ötillö at this point. I think we kind of are. We're like unofficial marketing for Ötillö. Well, Lars, we're super stoked for everything that's coming, that's happened from when it was, USA Swim Run to Odyssey to Ötillö USA. I mean, it's so exciting. And yeah, like we need to keep growing this thing, because we certainly want to get to 10 events as soon as possible, while having the existing races, like the legacy races, keep growing and selling out, hopefully. Because certainly anyone who really wants to have that European experience, Casco's your race. Anyone who wants to just have an incredible race experience can go to Orcas. If you want to go to Canada, Whistler's a nice place to go to. I mean, all the sites are just have something going for it, which is so great. And and from everything we've seen, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, it's like the vibe just remains. And I know I remember telling you this, Lars, when we went to Sweden for the first time. Just like, I can't believe everyone is like the same. It's like so nice. It's just like an Odyssey race, right? What do you think accounts for that? I mean, Chipper and I have asked this question of Michael Lamel and Mats. It's like, what is it about the vibe and the community that doesn't matter what swim run you're going to, like it's essentially the same? Like, what do you think accounts for that?
I think people come into swim run from so many different, whether it's different sports or different life experiences. And when they land in swim run, they're coming to us with a sense of, I've made a conscious decision to come to this sport for XYZ reason. But typically that reason has to do with some kind of form of gratitude, or they're in like a good place, I think. And this is just my observation, but we're nearing the end of 7 years. I've only seen less than a handful of people probably mad or angry or upset or any form of that, disappointed. Everyone's so happy at the end of these races, and whether that's experiences with, other racers throughout, or, our staff, or, just the fact that you're moving through, nature with someone else, teaming up with someone else and sharing an experience, people are just happy, and they have a good shared experience with the community. So we have tried not to lose that sense of community. This year, I don't know if you guys noticed, but, we've added a couple of new people on our weekend program. So Christine Shepke, used to travel with her husband, Mike Shepke, to, as just a spectator basically. And she would always be wanting to help and volunteer with us, but she's an all-star. We had to bring her into our team, and so she's one of the first people that people meet when they come into our swim run venue for the first time. JR is a former Black Hawk, helicopter pilot in the military. The guy's a badass. So friendly, such a friendly guy. He helps us out, whether it's course design or, just answering questions. He's a can-do type person. He's been amazing to have on our staff this year. Jen Ward Barber has really helped with our communications. Hannah Colton is helping out with our social media, and she's 30, so she's helping out with younger athletes as well. I'm in my mid 40s, can't always relate to, the new young crop who's coming up. So, it's just fun to have keep the energy high as well. We'd love to continue seeing that as, reaching more, kind of that college age student as well, and, help them find swim run a little bit faster than, like we all found it in our kind of 30s and 40s here.
Yeah, in our post-triathlon sort of states kind of.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and you guys see this, you see this globally, like Europe, they have found it in France, right? Now in France, this is a first stop for a lot of endurance athletes. And, I always tell Dominic and Annie is coming. Annie from the European headquarters is coming to Austin. So she's going to get to experience one of our swim runs for the first time. But I keep telling them, I still think we're about 5 years behind, where Europe is on a maturity level in the sport of swim run. But I think that's an okay thing, because they have their own challenges with, what comes with, a sport that's matured. It's a lot more competitive than, throughout the field than it is with us. So I think we're catching up, but we're catching up kind of in our own time.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep. But no, bringing Annie up though, I'm excited to have Annie, who is responsible for, overseeing and producing all of the European races in conjunction with Stefan.
Wow.
For her to see what the U.S. swim run community is like. And, Dominic, who joined us last year, had an absolute blast. Christian was at Casco Bay, had a blast. He's the Ötillö CEO. And then Olaf was at Orcus, and Olaf had an absolute blast as well. So, yeah, I think it's great that our European partners are seeing these races as well.
Yeah, and you forgot Stefan was at Whistler.
Raced Whistler, yeah.
Well, he was a racer. He kind of, we didn't see him much on ARC on race days. So no,
he cost us the podium, by the way.
Oh,
did he?
Yeah. Well,
man.
we're off the podium by like 30, 20 minutes or something like that.
And and he's not one you can sabotage and steal his goggles and cause it. He's used to racing without goggles.
Yeah, I remember he was calling the water warm, and I'm like, I'm trying to convert from low teens in the Celsius to wherever, and I was like, I don't know, man. I think we have different definitions of warm than
I
the
think
Swedes use.
they're just a different species of human. I'm convinced, but Lars, we are so stoked to be back in Austin yet
Absolutely.
again. I hope we continue the tradition every single year that thing happens, because it's such a fun way to end the year, and we can't wait to be boots on the ground with you. Chipper is I'm volunteering him to help you out. Whatever you need that he can do, he'll do it.
Thanks.
And
They keep mentioning, Chipper, that when is our Austin race going to start with one of us on horseback leading everyone out? So if you know how to ride a horse, you could be our horse rider to start the field off.
Oh my word. I have ridden a horse before, but that is my
There's
now
no
ready
other
to like
pressure on you.
Bronco, like a
I could hit it with the yeehaw, no problem, but and then hit it. Did spurs or something maybe?
Well, in your days shopping and eating Torchy's tacos, in the days before, you'd go get your cowboy hat, your shit kickers, you'd play your chicken shit bingo downtown Austin, and you'd look the part.
Yeah, I could do it. I think a nice pair of Tony Lama boots with the Arc Vig would just really tie it all together.
Well, and then
use
in
the
off-season,
tether
we
as
do
a
little logo reworking for the following year's T-shirt.
Let me noodle on that one and try to think if I could actually ride a horse or not.
Love it. Well,
sweet. Well, Lars, we'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you so much. And yeah, if you haven't signed up for this race, you're waiting for the last minute, now's your time to shine. Use the code LOWTIDE15, save 15% off registration. See you there. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, see you there. Or else.
Yeah, see you there.
Or else see you at the next one.
See you there,
or else
Chipper will be riding on a horseback.
Yeah, you don't want to miss me on a horseback, potentially yeehawing to start the race off at Ötillö, Austin.
Oh, I love it.
Love it.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Check out our website, lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z, for swim run resources, including gear guides, tips, how-to videos, and so much more. Make sure to check out our meme page at The Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any questions or suggestions for the show, send us a DM or email us at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of our swim run and other activities.
Lots of activities.
Lots of activities.
Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Then a run.
And then a swim.
Then another run.
Then another swim.
Then run some more.
Just keep going.
Let's go.
And then stop at some point because,
And fuel. Don't forget to fuel.
Gotta fuel.
Of course, yes.
In the morning,